You remember Doodlebob, right? The little guy SpongeBob drew up who eventually tried taking over his entire life? I think we can all agree this dude is probably the most evil character in the entire show. But I want to deep dive into what really caused them to be like this. Is there a chance Doodlebob has been escaping from the paper SpongeBob trapped them in? And can Doodlebob actually change and become a functioning part of society in Bikini Bottom? Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Doodlebob first appeared in the episode Frankendoodle. There's an artist on a rowboat, right? He's up there on the ocean surface just going to town with his pencil. But then bam, the pencil slips out of his hand and takes a dive into the ocean. This guy starts losing it, screaming as if he just dropped his entire career into the sea. Cut to the ocean floor, and here we got SpongeBob and Patrick doing their usual thing, playing rock, paper, scissors with bubbles. Because, you know, why not? Suddenly, the pencil crashes their party. They freak out at first, thinking it's some sort of sea monster, but soon enough, they start doodling away. They quickly find out that this isn't just any pencil. It's a magical pencil where everything they draw comes to life. SpongeBob, in a stroke of what he thinks is genius, draws a sketchy version of himself, Doodlebob. But things go off the rails at first. Doodlebob goes rogue, beats up Squidward, and hijacks the magic pencil. SpongeBob manages to erase Doodlebob thinking he saved the day, but nope. A leftover arm of Doodlebob sneaks in during the night and redraws its body. Doodlebob and SpongeBob have this epic showdown and the pencil snaps in half. SpongeBob gets the business end and Doodlebob gets the eraser. Things escalate and SpongeBob accidentally chucks his half of the pencil at Squidward's head. Because of course he does. In the climax, Doodlebob corners SpongeBob, but in a twist of fate, he steps on a piece of paper and gets his foot stuck. SpongeBob, seizing the moment, traps Doodlebob in a book and the sketch is finally content, just chilling on the page. In the end, SpongeBob and Patrick, realizing the sheer power of the magic pencil, decide to throw it back to the surface. Now, before I talk about Doodlebob's return, I do want to mention a side theory posted by Ty Records LOL. This theory suggests that later on in season 2, during the Bullworm episode, SpongeBob's house gets destroyed, right? And the wall Doodlebob was on is completely gone. This is when Ty asks kind of a good question.
Could it be that Doodlebob is in the belly of the beast? If so, what if he was controlling it, which is why the Bikini Bottom got destroyed?
Now, whether you can find logic in that part of the theory, Doodlebob returns in the Doodle Dimension episode. SpongeBob and Patrick are up to their usual antics, carrying an orange balloon creatively named Squeaky to Sandy's house. Sandy's cooking up some mad scientist stuff with a portal that can take you to any dimension. Think Rick and Morty, but underwater and with a lot less booze. So Sandy's off doing whatever Sandy does, and our dynamic duo decides it's playtime with her interdimensional tech. They're like two kids left alone with a supercomputer. Naturally, they hit a big red button and boom.
Whatever you do, don't walk into it!
Can we skip into it?
They're stuck in a completely white dimension. It's like they've crash landed in a giant sketch pad. SpongeBob and Patrick, in their infinite wisdom, start doodling away. But then, in a twist of homesickness, Patrick, missing SpongeBob, while literally SpongeBob standing next to him, draws Doodlebob. Doodlebob goes full gremlin on Patrick's belly, multiplying and biting him. SpongeBob, in a moment of brilliance, uses a doodle hose to wash him off. But Doodlebob hits the puddle and turns into this giant raging doodle monster. SpongeBob and Patrick try to outsmart him with doodle versions of their friends, but Doodlebob's one step ahead, turning them against SpongeBob and Patrick. In true villain fashion, Doodlebob kidnaps Patrick and takes him to his doodle castle. SpongeBob, with his knight in shining armor pants, goes on a rescue mission. It's like a cartoon war zone in there. Cornered and out of options, SpongeBob whips up a doodle balloon for a quick getaway. But those doodles are clingy little critters. They start stacking up to reach him. And then, in another stroke of genius, or maybe just luck, SpongeBob and Patrick hand over the balloon, sending the doodles off into a great white abyss. Now, how do they get back? Enter Doodle Sandy. SpongeBob draws her and she doodle draws a portal back to their dimension. They pop back into their own world, leaving Sandy utterly baffled. One thing we can all notice in both of these episodes is how unstable Doodlebob is. And there actually might be a theory supporting why this is. When SpongeBob drew a jellyfish, he specified.
It's a jellyfish.
When Patrick drew Squidward, he also specified.
It's Squidward, silly.
When SpongeBob drew Doodlebob, he said, I'll draw me, so when Squidward answers the door, it won't be me. See where I'm getting at? Maybe the pencil got confused as to what Doodlebob was supposed to be, so Doodlebob just came out wrong. I think the reason why the dollar bill went as planned is because there was just no confusion, and maybe without instructions, the pencil just has to guess as to what something's supposed to be. Now, is Doodlebob the most evil character in SpongeBob? To get to the bottom of this, we gotta take a look into the show's villains, starting with no other than Plankton. Plankton's main goal? He's all about trying to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula. Why? Because he wants to make the Chum Bucket his own restaurant, as successful as the Krusty Krab. Now, we all know he goes about it super sneaky and underhanded, like manipulating people and using all sorts of high-tech gadgets, all to get his hands on that recipe. But my bro Plankton, he's just trying to grow a business. There's nothing really evil about that. I think we can just cross him out as one of the most evil characters. Bubble Bass? I mean, I think it's far-fetched to say he's even evil. He's just some annoying Discord mod that thought it would be funny to hide pickles under his tongue. The Flying Dutchman is known for his love of haunting and scaring the daylights out of folks in Bikini Bottom. He's got all these ghostly powers like flying, disappearing, and shape-shifting, and he uses them all to spook everybody. It's like his favorite hobby. But I don't know, scaring people is not really evil. Maybe it's just me. The Dirty Bubble is more in line with what you'd expect from a traditional cartoon villain. He's got this whole evil vibe going on, often scheming against Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. But I mean, he's literally a giant dirty bubble. And a pencil, the same object that can create Doodlebob, can defeat the Dirty Bubble. So I mean, is he really even a bad guy? The Tattletale Strangler, he's portrayed as a criminal, notorious for his desire to strangle anyone who tattles on him. But SpongeBob's innocence and oblivious play a key role in the Strangler's evil intentions. Despite the Strangler's clear intent to harm SpongeBob, he never actually succeeds because of how SpongeBob interacts with them. Kevin Cucumber's evil is more about being a bully and an egotist than an outright criminal with malicious intent. And Man Ray, although he's technically still evil, if we look back at the episode Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3, SpongeBob and Patrick released Man Ray from a frozen state. But instead of immediately returning to his evil ways, Man Ray finds himself subjected to some sort of rehab under Patrick and SpongeBob, who try to teach him to be good. It's funny and a bit weird, but it shows he's not all bad. But with Doodlebob, it's a whole different story. This guy comes back a second time and he's still up to no good. While we might sit here and hate on Doodlebob, there's a small part of me that actually finds sympathy for him. Like, at the end of the day, he is his own person. At least he believes he is. And as evil as he is, all he wants is a life. For example, there's an official SpongeBob game called Hero's Choice. In the game, if the player loses, an ending is unlocked where the Doodles ravage the town, with Doodlebob and even Doodle Squidward taking over SpongeBob and Squidward's jobs. This being said, all Doodlebob wants is to have a regular life like SpongeBob, or maybe even take his life altogether. But can Doodlebob actually change and become a good guy? Another game in the franchise is called Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants Edition, right? In that game, we get to see a whole new side of Doodlebob. He kicks things off, pretty typical Doodlebob style, but dude, as you play more, there's this whole other layer to him. You, as the player, get to create this hero called Doodlepants to sort out the mess. Now, the cool part, you're not just chasing Doodlebob around. You're diving deep into the SpongeBob world, all the way to this epic showdown in space. And get this, Doodlebob had his own version of Bikini Bottom on the moon. It seemed all villain-like at first, but here's the twist. When Doodlepants finally beats the giant Doodlebob, it gets real. Squidward's all set to erase Doodlebob for good, right? But SpongeBob steps in. He realizes Doodlebob wasn't just about chaos. He was a lonely man trying to create his own world with his own friends. That's some deep stuff, man. The game then personally allows you to draw a smile on Doodlebob's face, and then we see Doodlebob happy, not in the Doodlebob world, but in the actual Bikini Bottom. This part of the game really flips the script on Doodlebob because in the actual show, he was still stuck in the Doodle world. It's like, is he really bad or just misunderstood? Was he just looking for a place to fit in? I think so, and in this video game, it shows that even somebody as wild as Doodlebob can change and find their own happy place.